The extreme heat apocalypse has arrived, and I awakened the duplication ability, endlessly duplicating supplies, hoping to save as many people as possible. Little did I know, my boyfriend, in order to steal my power, actually plotted to kill me. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day before the apocalypse. In this life, whoever acts like a naive saint. Yadog. July 2034. Due to solar activity, global temperatures skyrocketed, adding me past like suddenly, which allowed me to perfectly duplicate any object I touched. Under the gaslighting of my boyfriend, Mao Bufan. Apart from eating and sleeping, I spent all my time duplicating supplies. Qiaohe. With great power comes great responsibility. As an ability user, you should keep the people safe. Using the ability consumed a massive amount of stamina. I collapsed from exhaustion countless times, yet Mao Bufan didn't care at all. He took the supplies I duplicated and flirted with our pretty neighbor. Later, he even listened to others' rumors that as long as he chopped off my hands, he could steal my duplication ability. The plan failed, and the ability vanished. Furious and frustrated, Mao Bufan threw me outside to be dried up by the scorching sun. I thought my life would just end like that. But I didn't expect God to give me a second chance. I returned to the day before the apocalypse, looking at the familiar layout of my room. I was both thrilled and furious. The lovesick, foolish Qiaohe from my past life is already dead. I am now the ruthless Qiaohe 2.0. I must live comfortably until the end of the apocalypse. I picked up the cup from the bedside table with my left hand and tried to activate my duplication power. The next second, 15 identical cups appeared out of thin air in my right hand. As the cups fell to the floor, I was overjoyed. After being reborn, my ability level didn't reset to 0. In my past life unbearable manipulation, I used my power desperately. In just 3 months, my ability had reached level 15. The pain of leveling up. I really don't want to go through it again. The bedroom door was pushed open without warning. Mao Bufan walked in. Oh no. It's insanely hot lately. Should we stock up on some water? Seeing Mao Bufan's face, I instantly recalled the moment he murdered me. Every hair on my body stood up. Qiaohe. Where did all these cups come from? Bought them on a discount app. I'm planning to set up a store to sell cups, to make some side money. It's so hot. Why are you doing a side hustle? The forecast says the temperature will rise even more in the coming days. Let's go hoard some bottled water. Or what? Your mom hoarded 5 boxes of iodized salt, and she still has 4.5 boxes left. I found a bag, packed up the cups from the floor. Tournez d'around apart. Qiaohe, where are you going? I'm going to set up my stall. See ya. Today's temperature is already a full 45 degrees. It's outrageously hot. But this is far from the peak. According to my past life's experience, in 10 days, the temperature will soar to 50 degrees. In a month, it will reach 55 degrees. 2 months later, it will hit an unprecedented 66 degrees. Roads will melt. Trees will wither. Survivors will do whatever it takes to survive. the order of human civilization will begin to collapse. With such insane heat. Even though I've awakened an ability, my life won't be easy. I must prepare for a rainy day and make long-term plans. I took a taxi to District A and decided to rent an apartment there. District A is the wealthy neighborhood. The green environment is the best in the whole city. I heard from survivors in my past life that the temperature in District A was at least 3 to 4 degrees lower than District B. This damn weather is really going to roast people alive, the taxi driver complained as he turned the AC to the max. Première shrugged and hinted, yeah. I heard it's going to stay like this for the next month or two. A month or two. The driver's eyes widened instantly. He frantically stepped on the gas pedal, wishing he could drive the car like a rocket. Judging by his attitude, he's definitely going to hoard supplies right after dropping me off. Getting out of the taxi, I held up my parasol, found a random real estate agent, and rented a flat. After much persuasion, I finally convinced the landlord to agree to a 1-month deposit and 1-month rent deal. Next month, the whole world will lose power and internet. I'll admit defeat if the landlord can even contact me. With the housing sorted, it was time to renovate the apartment. I hired a construction crew to install thermal insulation on the exterior walls. Layers upon layers, inside and out. Between the insulation layers, we filled it to the brim with polyurethane foam to effectively block heat transfer. The windows were sealed, completely shut, leaving only a few ventilation vents. The foreman scratched the back of his head and hesitated. If we follow this renovation plan, the natural lighting in the room will be terrible. Besides, insulation materials are in high demand right now. Very hard to order this much. I completely ignored his first sentence and replied, as for the materials, I have my own channels to get them. Just focus on leading the construction. Chanel? I'll just duplicate them. Isn't that better? First, I went to the building materials market. Fouamboire perlite, Arogel concrete, polyurethane sunshade nets. I bought them all. Didn't check the brands, didn't ask the price, just swiped my card and bought everything. Returning home, I picked up 3 rolls of sunshade net and activated my duplication ability. 45 rolls of sunshade nets piled up into a small mountain on the floor. After duplicating the building materials to the home appliance market. Refrigerators, freezers, washing machines, air conditioners, fan, ice makers, projectors, bought them all. They offer home delivery for appliances, saving me another trip. Then I went to the biggest supermarket in the city. Toilet papier, tissues, sanitary pads, nighttime period underwear, panty liners. I definitely can't skimp on these. Shampoo, conditioner, air oil, body wash, toothpaste, soap. Bon. I need to smell good, even in the apocalypse. Pour en pain. Knives, forks, chopsticks, seasonings, spoons, and spices. BBQ supply. Hot pot stoves. Bon. Living a second life. I not only need to eat enough, but I need to eat well. I also bought various tools. J'eus une case. And of course, the important my snacks. I bought one of everything. With my duplication ability, I'll never have to worry about food and drink again. I also bought some fruits that can be frozen. and grabbed a few bags of dried vegetables. My car was completely packed. I drove back, humming a little tune. By the time I finished organizing all these supplies, it was already midnight. The temperature had dropped slightly in the dead of night, but it was still around 36 or 37 degrees AC to sleep mode. Getting ready for a good night's sleep. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. I turned on the lights. Uninvited guests were banging on the front door. Through the video doorbell, I saw several fierce-looking men standing outside. Each of them held clubs or sledgehammers. The leader even had a dagger tucked into his waistband. Standing at the very back. Wasn't that Mao Bufan? Mao Bufan messed with his phone and said, "Brothers, the GPS is accurate. Qiaohe is hiding right here. This apartment must have cost a fortune, right? Mao Bufan, your girlfriend is pretty loaded. All right, hurry up and smash the door. We'll split the supplies equally." The muscular man carrying the sledgehammer pushed to the front, ready to swing his hammer. I was trembling all over. I hurriedly ran toward my bedroom. But after just 2 steps, I suddenly remembered something. I stopped in my tracks. Right, I have the duplication ability. Why should I be afraid of them? Outside, the muscular man had already started swinging. I had a brilliant idea. I used my ability to duplicate the front door 5 times. Then, I leisurely walked over to the sofa and sat down, watching the monitor. That muscular man was swinging the hammer with all his might. Before long, cracks appeared on the security door's frame. Mao Bufan stepped forward and violently pulled the security door open. "Qiaohe, let's see where you can hide now." Ew. Mao Bufan and the thugs were utterly dumbfounded. Behind the security door, there was another identical security door. I laughed disdainfully. Let's see who's faster, them smashing or me duplicating. I don't know how long it had been, but the noises at the door eventually stopped. With so many doors, nobody could finish smashing through them. I let out a sigh of relief. Right then, I seemed to hear the sound of a cat meowing from the doorway. Fearing it was another of Mao Bufan's tricks, I grabbed a weapon and walked to the door. After making sure no one was there, I opened the door a tiny crack. A small kitten was curled up at the door. I gently brought him inside the house and prepared a bowl of goat milk powder. The kitten kept his eyes closed, swallowing eagerly. Who knows how long this apocalypse will last? Having a cat to keep me company is actually a good thing. I gently stroked his head and decided to give him a name. From now on, I'll call you Doggo. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. Doggo and I enjoyed the AC and spent our days leisurely in the apartment. The trending topics were all about the heatwave. The strongest heatwave in history sweeps the globe. Tens of millions are confirmed dead. Immeasurable losses. Yesterday's highest temperature hit 59 degrees Celsius. Historical records broken in multiple regions. Hospitals overwhelmed everywhere. Medical staff advise staggering hospital visits. Experts say a temperature drop in the short term is highly likely. Citizens are advised not to panic and no need for panic buying. These news reports about hoarding supplies caused massive anxiety. I put down my phone. I planned to make myself a bowl of cold noodles. Walking to the fridge, I took out a few tubs of ice cream. A heatwave apocalypse pairs perfectly with ice cream. I sat comfortably on the sofa, enjoying this tranquility. Doggo took advantage of my distraction and snatched a piece of spicy beef. What kind of normal cat likes to eat spicy food? As days passed by, the temperature had soared to 61 degrees. The asphalt roads were starting to melt. Many trees had withered away, and some even burst into flames spontaneously. A faint knock came from the door. I froze for a moment, picked up my phone, and tapped into the security feed. In the middle of the day, there's actually a survivor daring to go outside. The monitor screen showed a little girl in rags standing outside the door. She was about 1.2 meters tall, looking to be around 7 or 8 years old. Seeing this scene, if it were the me from my past life, I would definitely feel pity and give her some supplies. But now, I am the ruthless Qiaohe. Hello. Yan your nom? The little girl stretched out her bony hand and knocked again. I felt completely unmoved. In this heatwave apocalypse, the most untrustworthy thing is human nature. I gently picked up Doggo. Doggo seemed to know exactly what I was thinking, and kept perfectly quiet. I pretended there was no one home. The knocking outside continued, getting louder and louder. I immediately sensed something was wrong. Through the monitor, I saw the little girl outside suddenly turn into a grown man. I turned pale with fright. I had completely forgotten that I wasn't the only one with powers. The man outside began to lose his patience. The knocking became deafening. I held Doggo tighter in my arms. I could feel him trembling. Perhaps the heat drained the man's energy, and he eventually limped away, exhausted. I slumped to the floor, my heart pounding wildly. If I had opened that door, I don't even dare to imagine what would have happened to me. Because of this incident, I knew I had to be more vigilant. The dangers of the apocalypse are far more terrifying than I thought. I looked at Doggo beside me, and my eyes became resolute. My defenses must be upgraded again. I can't rely solely on the current protection. I must be prepared to face other ability users. I went to the storage room and dug out the steel plates I had bought from the building materials market and previously duplicated. Each plate was 1 centimeter thick, enough to withstand attacks from regular blades and blunt objects. I activated my ability. A faint white light gathered in my palm. Facing the steel plates, I silently chanted, Duplicate. In un instant, 15 lights appeared. They piled onto the floor with a heavy thud. Next, I fetched the duplicated steel pipes, screws, and wrenches, and began to reinforce the doors and windows. Although the original security door was sturdy enough, I bolted another layer of steel plates onto it anyway. After finishing this, I realized Doggo had followed me to the storage room and was rubbing his head against me. He meowed softly. I patted his head and smiled. Don't be afraid. With me here, no one can get in. Honestly, I wasn't entirely confident either. I didn't know if that shapeshifter would return, or if he had any accomplices. But première can you? That only by being fully prepared could I survive in this perilous apocalypse. Evening. The temperature had dropped to 50 degrees Celsius. This was a relatively cool time of the day. Exhausted, I collapsed onto the sofa and chugged a large bottle of ice-cold mineral water. Before I finally felt myself recover, I checked the security monitor, repeatedly inspecting every corner around the apartment. Only after confirming there were no anomalies did I dare lower my guard slightly. For the next few days, I remained on high alert every single day. The first thing I did after waking up was to check the surveillance playback. On the morning of the 5th day, I was making myself some instant noodles. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the door. A man's figure appeared in the hallway. He looked to be in his 30s, holding a rusty machete. His body was emaciated and his face was sallow, clearly suffering from prolonged starvation and dehydration. But his eyes were piercing, filled with a manic greed. He walked straight towards my front door. My heart tightened. I immediately turned off the lights and hid behind the monitor to observe. The man approached the door. He didn't knock. Instead, he raised the machete and fiercely slashed at the door lock. The machete struck the steel plate, making a harsh, screeching sound and sending sparks flying, but the lock didn't budge an inch. The man clearly didn't expect the door to be this solid. He paused for a second and then began hacking away even more frantically, muttering to himself, "Open the door. Open the door, you hear me? Hand over your supplies, or once I smash this door open, you're dead meat." I let out a cold sneer and pressed the electrification switch connected to the door handle. The moment the man's hand touched the handle, he let out a blood-curdling scream. He snatched his hand back as if he had been burned. Stumbling backward, "This door is electrified." He stomped his feet in pain, the madness in his eyes growing even more intense. "You think this is enough to stop me? I am an ability user." Saying that, he clapped his hands together and then abruptly threw them open. A violent gust of wind appeared out of nowhere. It blew the dust in the hallway everywhere, and even made my heavy front door rattle slightly. A wind ability user. My heart skipped a beat. I didn't expect to run into an offensive type ability user. The gale grew stronger, and the door panels groaned and creaked, as if they could be blown apart at any second. I didn't dare to slack off. I glanced at my ability status panel and realized my skill had leveled up to level 20. My ability could now bypass spatial distances. I grabbed my crossbow and activated my power. The instant I fired the crossbow bolt, I duplicated the flying bolt to the other side of the door. The bolt pierced right through his knee. He cried out in agony, You're an ability user too." What did you think? How else could this apartment remain intact in the apocalypse? I looked down at him through the camera. My tone icy, "Get lost. If you don't leave, my next shot won't be aimed at your knee." The man struggled to stand up, but fell again due to the severe pain in his knee. He looked at the crossbow bolt in his leg, then looked at the impenetrable front door. Realizing he couldn't win today, he could only grit his teeth and limp away to escape. I didn't chase after him. In the apocalypse, Never chase a desperate enemy is an absolute truth. Watching the man's receding back, I realized clearly that the threat from ability users was far greater than from ordinary survivors. I had to further increase my own strength. I couldn't just rely on passive defense. Over the following days, I started trying to develop new uses for my duplication ability. After encountering that wind user, I wondered, could I duplicate energy itself? I began attempting to duplicate the energies around me. I activated my ability, facing the cold air blowing from the AC. A white light shimmered in my palm. Surenog. A stream of cool air gathered in my hand. Although it wasn't as strong as the AC itself, it still brought a trace of coolness. Then I tried it on the light from a light bulb. A faint glow actually condensed in my palm as well. Even though these duplicated energies weren't very powerful yet, they gave me a lot of hope. On the 10th day, I received unexpected news. In a hidden corner of the staircase, I found a slip of paper. It was written with charred charcoal. The handwriting was messy. Mao Bufan is dead. He was found dead in an abandoned supermarket while fighting over water, beaten to death by other survivors. Also, there is a group of ability users looting nearby. There are 3 of them. One type, un small type, and one stone. Be careful. Seeing the name Mao Bufan, I felt no emotional ripples whatsoever, only a sense of relief that my revenge had been fulfilled. I didn't know who left this note either, and I didn't want to overthink it. I just wanted to focus on surviving the present. Mao Bufan's fate was the path he chose for himself. He completely deserved it. Doggo seemed to sense the danger as well. Every day, he would lie by the door, vigilantly listening to the sounds outside. I stroked his head and said softly, "Don't be afraid. We are very well prepared. They won't be able to get in." Soon, a month had passed. The temperature slowly began to drop. I looked at the weather forecast. It had gone down to 40 degrees. Although it was still hot, it was almost the same as the highest temperatures of a normal summer. I stood on the balcony, looking at the azure sky and the green woods in the distance. My heart filled with peace and happiness.